Hey everyone, it's Steven GetMoneyMyrick here, and in this video I'm going to be discussing with you all how I cleared Void Vortex, including how I beat Valiant and how I beat Defier with just 6 Magic Stone Swords. This is going to be part 1 of a 3-part series. In this particular video, we are going to be talking about how to set up your heroes, how to set up your star spawns, set up your pets, your guild tech, everything you got to do to prep before you go in and do the Void Vortex. And then my future videos are going to be one about how I cleared Valiant, which I've already done, and one about how I cleared Defier, which I haven't actually done yet, but I feel very confident I can do it based on how my Valiant clear went. Before I go any further, I did want to say make sure you check the description of this video where I will have a bunch of links, and my future videos will also have a ton of links about a lot of details of what happened. But I wanted to start by just saying a big thank you to Jesus is Here and the guide that he has put together. I'm sure many of you are aware of it and have read through it, or at least know all the effort and work he's put into it. Because without Jesus's work and all of his buddies, we would not be able to be doing this cheese method. Within his guide, he gives a shout out to Zohart, Groovy, Normanin, and GDP, and he also gives a thanks to QApple on iOS for pioneering the method, and Vortex, and for Jimmy Bay for showing it off. So I want to be very clear that I couldn't have done any of this without the support that they have done. Jesus has a PayPal link within his document if you want to support him that way, because he put in a ton of work for all of us. So I just want to give a giant shout out to Jesus is Here. Also, if you want to show me some support, you can hit that subscribe button down below. I'd really appreciate it, because I'm putting a lot of effort into these videos trying to give the information I think is the most important. I know that's why you come to my channel, is because you want to know the best strategies. You know that I answer your comments down below, so if you have a question, make sure you leave in the comments and I'll be able to help you out. I'm not going to do your run for you because it does take a while and it is a lot of work, but I'm trying to give you the information you know, as well as giving you the resources that other people have come up with so that you can clear the Void Vortex and get Valiant done and get Defier done and get all those amazing rewards. I want to show you the heroes I used, and so you can see exactly how they're equipped, and you can also look at their HP and their attack ratios to know how yours compares. I'll also, at the end of this video, be talking about a guide from Dethroy on the Idle Heroes Discord. He put together a great Google Doc that you can use to compare your specific heroes to what I have. And so you'll be able to compare and see how yours do versus mine, and know that, okay, he was able to clear Valiant with this information, so I should be able to if I'm, similar to what he has or better. And probably if you were worse than me, you could also still do it. It would just be more gems and more difficult. So going in with a Inosuke right here, you want them to be level 60 so that you can get this passive skill unlocked. So make sure you get the 60. Don't accidentally hit one more and go to 61. And then you want to get if you have it, resonance gear. If you don't have it, just do ranger gear of just the weapon, just the trinket, and an attack stone. This stone doesn't have to be an S3 stone. I've heard C6 works, but I had enough dust to make it S3, so I went ahead and did it. I will say, be aware of the amount of dust you have, because a lot of people don't realize how low they are on dust, and so when all of a sudden you have to make all these attack stones for small heroes, just make sure you're aware of that before you go in, because we do have a guild member who tried to do it with some pretty low dust, and it was definitely a struggle. They were able to clear it, but I would definitely just be aware of how much dust you have when you're doing this, and making sure you have enough to get the stones that you need, because that's actually one of the biggest requirements for doing this. For the weapon, we have Magic Stone Sword, and we have a glittery right now. One thing I did do is I did all this during the Ormus event, so that if I had the opportunity to do a planet with just 2 heroes and I was struggling, I was able to take 2 of my 6 Magic Stone Swords and make 2 Radiant versions of Magic Stone Swords and put them on 2 heroes. So everything I'm showing you is with glittery, but I definitely did have moments, a few planets, where I did go through and make 2 into Radiant copies. And I've got the regular skin here. I didn't ever upgrade it to legendary, and this is again what my HP and my attack looks like. Moving on to Delaciums, you'll want them to be level 80. You can see here what my HP and my attack is. I've got a resonance gear for Delacium. One thing I do want to say is you don't need to re-roll these. You definitely actively don't want the resonance gear on Delacium to increase HP. I did not roll the all damage dealt on the weapon, but I'm sure you could, and I'm sure it would help. But it doesn't help keep you alive with Magic Stone Swords, because it doesn't actually raise attack. I did C6 stones, again, because I could afford it, attack, and then a glittery Magic Stone Sword. I have the exact same thing on my other Delacium, and then I don't have a third piece of resonance gear, so I just use Mage, and I just have a A4 agate stone 3, I guess, stone attack. That's because on the planets where you can use 3 Delaciums, they're going to be replicating the buffs really quickly, so that you don't necessarily take as much damage, so your attack ratios don't have to be as high. So you can see here he's 43,000 versus 75,000. Here he's 43,000 versus 96,000, and that did work fine for me still. Another hero you will need is Illyria. She just needs to be level 7. She doesn't need any gear, any weapons at all. All you really care about is this attack steal 3. Basic attack steal is 20% of target's attack. The one thing to be aware of with Illyria is you do not want to do an active with her, which means that you don't want to be energy feeding her either. So just, make sure that none of your other heroes with energy are energy feeding her, because you actually care about this basic attack. You do not want to be doing an active attack with her. You're going to need an E5 Fiona. I went ahead and V4'd mine because I had the Stellar Shards in order to do it. According to Jesus' guide, E5 is fine. I don't believe really the stone matters at all, or the enables. This is what I use, 3-1-3-3-2, but probably thinking about it should be better with 2-2, 4-2-2, but it really doesn't matter. She's just there to get an active off one time and to put shields up. Again, I had an attack stone. I did use a Demon Bell. Again, you just don't want to be energy feeding, so you don't want a Splendid Demon Bell at all. You just want to break those down, and you might need to in order to have enough dust in order to, or artifact essence in order to get your magic stone swords all built. One thing to be aware of is I did actually use the, I have 2 resonance suits, and I did go ahead and put the Amun-Ra resonance equipment on their necklace, and that's because it's helpful to have an Amun-Ra. And what you don't want to do is increase her HP. So you can see here I actually put the Fiona one on my Amun-Ra. So that's just something to be aware of, is if you get to a planet where you need an Amun-Ra, which I did. I think I did them twice, and they're pretty easy planets overall if you hit them. It's definitely worth having. Let me go ahead and show what the stats look like when I put the Magic Stone Sword on to the Amun-Ra. Give me 1 second right here. Let's get one off of Delacium. So when you put the Magic Stone Sword on Amun-Ra, the attack ratio to HP is not like crazy good. This is what I had, but it was just enough, because your goal is to keep Amun-Ra alive long enough so that she can put down a bunch of healing curses onto the enemy heroes. So this is, if you do build Amun-Ra, in Jesus' guide it just says 5-star Ra, level 80 to unlock last passive. He doesn't mention that when you do use Amun-Ra, you actually want her to also have a Magic Stone Sword to stay alive, and so you'll need an attack stone as well, just to get that ratio up so that she stays alive longer. You also want an Ignis or possibly 2 Ignises in order to give CC immunity. I actually ended up using 2 Ignises. The number one reason you'll want them again is for that CC immunity. So what they have on them doesn't really matter. This is how I equipped mine, speed HP, with no Unbending Will on them, just so they would die and give that CC immunity. But they died pretty easily even with Unbending Will. But you could definitely use 2 Ignises, and again, they don't have to be E5s. Just 9 stars work. And I did have one planet where I used 2 of them. You don't have to have 2 again, but for a planet I did use 2 of them, so I wanted to show her off. I saved ticks for last because they're one of the more difficult heroes to explain, and they can really be adjusted depending on what level of the Void Vortex you are doing. The number one thing you want, I just want to throw this out there, the number one thing you want your ticks to do is get on a Belrain to kill her, and you want to try and kill her by round 10. And you do that using the Revenging Wraith Ghost. So you want the Belrain to target your ticks. You want your ticks to die, put the ghost on Belrain, and the ghost slowly kills Belrain, because if Belrain stays alive, she'll buff the enemy's team where you can't actually kill the enemy team. So that's the purpose of ticks. And so people recommend that if you are doing Valiant, that you have a 10-star ticks, because you want to make sure that Belrain is able to one-shot the ticks. And if you had an E5 ticks, you might not be able to one-shot them. I have heard of people that have been able to do an E5 ticks and make them naked, and Belrain can still one-shot them. And I also have a guildmate who used a 6-star ticks and saw that they still had enough attack and enough damage in order to kill the Belrain by, that round 10 to 15. So you could use a 6-star ticks, you could use a 9-star ticks, you could use a 10-star ticks, you could use an E5 ticks. You just really have to be watching your fight if you're using tickses, at least the first one, and just make sure that they are actually killing the Belrain. Once you start working on clearing Defier, you're going to want to use an E5 ticks, and the only thing you really care about with ticks is that they have energy on them. That's just the biggest thing, is making sure they have energy on them. that being said, Donkey Baller, my guildmate, did reveal some secret strategies to me with ticks, specifically regarding when you're doing a 6 Magic Stone Sword method, where sometimes you may want to use a 10-star ticks and an E5 ticks together. I actually use this method a lot near the end of my Valiant run, and I'm excited to show you guys that video with how we actually did that. But the general concept is that the 10-star ticks has energy on them and dies early on to the Bell Rain, and that ghost kills the Bell Rain so that you do fine. Whereas the E5 ticks, you put an attack weapon onto the ticks, and what will happen is, like, let's go ahead and put an attack weapon on him, like Staff Punisher, or if you have a branches that you could put on him. And what will happen is that ghost on that ticks will just move on to every other hero champion. And you can see there's this thing that when the target is killed, deals damage against all surviving enemies by 30% of their max HP. And the Delaciums are going to replicate that effect and basically bomb the entire enemy team. So there were a few planets where we actually used our 10-star ticks and our E5 ticks, the 10-star ticks to take out the Bell Rain, and the E5 ticks later on with an attack weapon. And when I'm doing my Defier push, I think I'll use this method again, but I'll be putting energy on my E5 ticks, and I will be putting a branches or a Staff Punisher on my 10-star ticks. I know that's a little confusing right now, but hopefully when my video is released, it'll make more sense. The biggest benefit is it allowed me to take my, I had 2 Delaciums and an Inosuke, each with a glittery Magic Stone Sword. I was able to take out 1 Delacium and make my Magic Stone Swords radiant and put them on Delacium and on Inosuke. And we were able to just fly through Valiant with this method. A lot of the yellowed planets became so easy, so I'm going to be showing you all of that in my next video, but it was just amazing. I am going to touch on the 3 carry method, which is something that you can use on 2 planets within Defier. And if you roll those planets and if you have 3 carries, they just have to be 10-star or higher. They don't have to be E5s, like I have 4 E5 carries here. But if you had 3 10-star or higher carries, you could do this method. Where basically you just are doing more of like a traditional cheese with keeping a Inosuke alive, and the carries will keep reviving, and that will allow the Inosuke to stay alive long enough to do enough damage. And when you do that method, you'll just want to put some artifacts that have attack on them, like branches or like Staff Punishers, for doing that. But since I haven't actually done my Defier run yet, I don't have any thoughts on that, but I've heard it makes those 2 planets a lot easier if you have those 3 carries. But I realize a lot of you are not going to have 3 carries, but I'm just calling that out there about those are other heroes you may need. Yeah, and that's everything regarding the heroes. And the next thing you're going to want to do is go into your star spawns, and you're going to want attack star spawns to be leveled up, and you're going to want to regress any star spawn that gives HP. So you can see all of these star spawns I have give HP, so I regress them and put them down to level 1, and then any attack ones I have, I wanted them to be as high as I could possibly make them. So I'm fortunate, I have the Abyss star spawn, that makes it a lot easier, and I have another attack star spawn up to level 100, so that definitely is helping me. I realize some people may not have all of that, but that is going to affect my attack ratios when I'm doing stuff. But I also have a lot of HP star spawns as well, relatively speaking, which is hurting me the other way. But you're going to want to do that, and you're going to want to go to your monster section down here, your pet, and you're going to want to take your Phoenix, rebirth your Phoenix, make them level 1, and then you just need to get them up to level 120. I went ahead and made mine level 180 because I plan on making them full again when I'm done. So they're better at 180, so I went ahead and did it. But you don't want to invest anything in these auras down here. All you do is you just level them up to at least level 120. Like I said, do level 180 if you have the gold and the resources. But that is what I did with my Phoenix. And then the final thing you're going to need to reset is your guild tech. So if you go in your guild tech here, within the guild stuff, you will find your mage, and you're going to want to click this green button, reset it. You're going to want to only put 10 points into the HP, and then you're going to want to max out your attack at 50. None of this other stuff really matters, but I went ahead and did it just because it can't hurt to increase crit or precision or skill damage. Speed obviously has no effect within the Void Vortex, and these you really don't want to use at all because they're going to increase HP as well. So you're going to want to regress those on both your mage and your ranger. I did not regress it on my priest, just for the Amun-Ra. I didn't need to at all, so you don't really need to worry about that. But again, put 10 points in here, don't go any higher, max this out, and then go ahead and fill these in. So as I mentioned, there's a Google Sheet document made by Dethroy on Idle Heroes Discord channel where you can go in and you can put in all of your stats of what you have so that you can see how many hits you can take with your heroes. And so you can go through and set the levels of your star spawns on the left here. You can go through and put in what kind of stones you have on your heroes, what kind of magic stone sword you plan on using, are you using resonance gear or not, and they'll give you a calculation down here at the end about your hit count. And so I just kind of want to show what my hit count was for my Delacium. It was 246, and my hit count on my Inosuke was 189. Remember to make sure you have the correct skin selected, whether it's none, regular, or legendary, and make sure you reset your guild type. But you should match down here the attack and the HP ratios, and I just kind of want to show that off so you're aware of what mine looks like, so that when you try and attempt yours, you can get an idea of if yours is going to be easier or harder based on how many hits you can take. If you look at the 5-star Inosuke, they look like they're better. This 5-star level 50 Inosuke being able to take 269 hits, but where the 5-star Inosuke fails is that their shield is not as good. So that's why everybody recommends the 6-star Inosuke level 60. Jesus says it should be possible with a 5-star level 50, but everybody I know is using a 6-star level 60, so you might as well too. They can also go in here and you can see if you make yours like level 100, how it drops to 139 hits. And so that's why you want to keep yours at that level 60 just in order to get the most hits as possible. So that's everything you need to know about setting up your heroes, your star spawns, your pets, your guild tech, all that stuff if you're trying to do the cheese method for the Void Vortex. If you enjoy this content, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you check back in a few days because I will have a video showing how I cleared Valiant. And then after that, hopefully a video about, hopefully I clear it, Defier. But I'm very confident we'll clear it based on the amount of gems I have and how well my Valiant clear went. I learned a lot of tricks. I'm putting together like a spreadsheet with timestamps and all the fights and everything I did for you all, how many times I re-rolled. So lots of data so that you can follow exactly what I did. So I'm just trying to set people up for success and give them as much knowledge as I can. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them below in the comments. Again, I'm not going to do your runs for you because dang, they take a long time. But if you have a question, reach out, let me know. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.